Hey, everyone, welcome back to AI Pulse, where we dive deep into the stories shaping your world. Today, we're tackling a massive topic: how President Trump's new tariffs, including a 25% tax on iPhones made in India, could make your next phone, groceries, and even your car way more expensive. We'll break down what these tariffs mean, why they're happening, how they hit everyday Americans, and whether they'll actually bring jobs back to the US. Plus, we'll zoom in on Apple's Make in India iPhone plans and why Trump's targeting them. Grab a coffee, this is a big one, and we're going all in for the next few minutes. Let's dive in. First, let's get clear on what tariffs are. Imagine you're buying a $10 burger, but the government adds a $1 tax because some ingredients came from another country. Now you're paying $11. That's a tariff, a tax on imported goods that companies often pass on to you, the consumer. Back in April 2025, Trump rolled out a 10% baseline tariff on all imports to the US, plus so-called reciprocal tariffs that match what other countries charge us. For example, India faces a 26% tariff, China could see up to 145%, and Mexico and Canada are looking at 25%. But the headline grabber came on May 23, 2025, when Trump posted on Truth Social, warning Apple that iPhones made in India will face a 25% tariff unless they're built in the US. He doubled down, saying, "If they're going to sell in America, I want them built in the United States." This isn't just about iPhones, it's about everything you buy, so let's unpack how it affects you. Why are these tariffs happening? Trump's pushing an America First agenda, arguing that tariffs will force companies to manufacture in the US, create jobs, and shrink the trade deficit, where we import more than we export. He claims tariffs could raise $400 billion to $5.2 trillion over 10 years to fund things like infrastructure or tax cuts. Sounds promising, right? But there's another side. Economists warn these tariffs could hit American consumers hardest by jacking up prices on everyday goods. Let's look at how. Picture this: you're budgeting for a new iPhone, maybe the iPhone 16 Pro Max, which retails for $1,199. With a 26% tariff on iPhones made in India, that price could climb to about $1,510. If Apple keeps production in China, where tariffs could hit 145%, that same phone might cost $1,999 or more. And it's not just phones. About 90% of avocados in the US come from Mexico, now facing a 25% tariff. Your guacamole could cost 10 to 40% more. Coffee from Brazil, hit with a 10% tariff. Cars. Imported parts mean new vehicles could cost $3,000 to $6,400 extra. Economists from JP Morgan and the Budget Lab estimate these tariffs could cost the average American household $1,200 to $3,800 a year. That's money you're not spending on vacations, dining out, or saving for the future. Small businesses feel it too. If you're spending less, they're earning less. Let's zoom in on Apple and the Make in India iPhone drama. Apple's been shifting production from China to India to avoid trade tensions and high costs. In April 2025, iPhone shipments from India to the US soared 76%, hitting 2.9 million units, while China's share dropped 76% to just 900,000. India is expected to make 25 to 30% of global iPhones in 2025, up from 18% last year. Why? It's cheaper. Assembling an iPhone in India costs about $30, but in the US, it's $390, over 10 times more, because of higher labor and factory setup costs. Even with a 25% tariff, India's assembly cost rises to just $37.50, still way below US costs. Apple's even chartering flights to ship 600 tons of iPhones from India to dodge China's 145% tariff threat. But Trump's not having it. He wants iPhones made in the US, saying, "I told Tim Cook, you're my friend, but I don't want you building in India." So, why is Trump targeting Apple? It's not just personal. iPhones are a symbol. 60 million smartphones are sold in the US yearly, and Apple's a massive player. Trump's pressuring big companies like Apple, Samsung, Walmart, and even Mattel to move production stateside, arguing it'll create jobs. He's not wrong, some factories might open. But there's a catch. Building a US iPhone factory could take years and cost $30 billion for just 10% of Apple's supply. And the price of a US-made iPhone? Experts estimate $1,500 to $3,500 for a phone that now costs $1,200. Apple analyst Ming-Chi Kuo said it's smarter for Apple to eat the 25% tariff than move production, because US costs are so high. Plus, India's got government incentives and a growing tech ecosystem, making it a life raft for Apple's supply chain. Now, let's talk about the bigger picture. Tariffs don't just raise prices, they ripple. Higher costs for imported parts mean US companies, like automakers, pay more to produce goods, so they charge you more. Inflation could rise 1 to 2.3% in 2025, making everything from gas to clothes pricier. Other countries might retaliate. India and China could slap tariffs on US exports like soybeans or cars, hurting American farmers and workers. A Reuters Ipsos poll found 73% of Americans expect price hikes, and 57% oppose these tariffs. Worse, Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan estimate a 45 to 60% chance of a recession if tariffs escalate. That's not just a higher phone bill, that's job losses, tighter budgets, and economic pain. But let's be fair, tariffs have upsides. They could push some manufacturing back to the US, creating jobs in places like Ohio or Texas. The revenue might fund infrastructure or lower taxes. Some ex-users argue this is a bold move to make America self-sufficient, saying, Trump's right to call for Make in America. But others call it a tariff tantrum, pointing out that forcing Apple to build in the US could backfire, raising prices without delivering enough jobs to offset the pain. What about Apple's next move? They're in a tough spot. Moving production to the US sounds patriotic, but it's a logistical nightmare. The US doesn't have the infrastructure to mass-produce smartphones at scale, not yet. Apple's CEO, Tim Cook, said in a May 2025 earnings call that most iPhones sold in the US this quarter will come from India, with iPads and Macs from Vietnam. They're diversifying to avoid China's trade war mess, but Trump's 25% tariff throws a wrench in that plan. Some analysts think Apple will just pay the tariff and raise prices. Since iPhones are Veblen goods, people will still buy them even if they cost more. Others say Apple might negotiate with Trump, maybe promising some US investment to ease the pressure. Let's talk about you, the consumer. If these tariffs hit, your budget takes a hit. A family planning to buy a new iPhone and a car might face an extra $5,000 in costs. That's real money, maybe a month's rent or a kid's college fund. And it's not just Apple. Trump's also targeting Samsung and other tech giants, saying, it wouldn't be fair otherwise. So, your next Android phone could cost more too. Groceries, clothes, electronics, everything imported gets pricier. The Tax Foundation estimates tariffs could cost households $58,000 over a lifetime, worse than a corporate tax hike. Is there pushback? You bet. California's Attorney General, Rob Bonta, warned he might sue over the iPhone tariffs, saying they could hurt California companies like Apple. A federal court even ruled some of Trump's tariffs illegal on May 29, 2025, though an appeals court let them stay for now. India's fighting back too, offering tariff cuts to the US but keeping high duties on agriculture, which could spark a trade war. On X, sentiments are mixed. Some cheer Trump's push for US jobs, while others slam it as borderline retarded, arguing it'll just make iPhones unaffordable. So, will these tariffs work? Trump's betting they'll force companies to build in the US, create jobs, and make America richer. But the math is tricky. Moving production takes years, costs billions, and still raises prices. The US trade deficit might shrink, but at what cost? Economists say GDP could drop 8%, wages could fall 7%, and consumers, you, bear the brunt. It's a gamble, short-term pain for long-term gain, or a recipe for economic chaos. What can you do about it? In the short term, consider buying big-ticket items like phones or cars before tariffs fully kick in, maybe by June 2025, when the iPhone tariff is set to start. Some Americans are already stockpiling iPhones, but that could cause shortages, like those COVID-era toilet paper runs. Long term, you might look at second-hand devices or delay upgrades to save cash. Check out sales like Amazon's Great Summer Sale for deals before prices climb. But be warned, stockpiling could drive demand and make things worse. Let's wrap this up. Trump's tariffs, especially the 25% hit on India-made iPhones, aim to bring manufacturing back to the US, but they're likely to make your phone, groceries, and cars more expensive, maybe thousands of dollars more a year. Apple's stuck between paying tariffs, raising prices, or spending billions to build US factories that might not even be ready for years. Jobs might come, but so could inflation, trade wars, and a recession. It's a bold move, but it's you, the consumer, who'll feel the pinch first. What do you think? Are you ready to pay $1,500 for your next iPhone, or are you skipping upgrades? Drop your thoughts in the comments, I read every one. If you want more deep dives like this, hit that like button, subscribe to AI Pulse, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next video. We're working on one about whether India can become the new China for tech manufacturing, so stay tuned. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.